Good morning, Malta and Gozo, and welcome to another edition of Lovin Daily, brought to you by Browns and You. I'm your host, Jonathan Chilia, joined by my co-host, John Paul, and here are your headlines for today. Malta wins the war against COVID-19 as airport and churches to reopen. Mass events are still banned as owners warn clubbing industry is at risk. Chris Cardona dismisses claims that he overdosed as just lies and nonsense. Outrage after black Maltese youths were called jungle monkeys. And a Saudi prince's spectacular 400 million mega yacht is currently moored in Senglia. JP, we've got quite a mix of topics today. You want to take us away into the first one?
Absolutely. Let's start with the biggest story of yesterday, which has to be the fact that Robert Abela and Deputy Prime Minister Chris Fearn pretty much announced that we've won the war against COVID-19. This is huge news for the Maltese population, because with it comes the reopening of a lot of stores and facilities that we've been waiting for a long time. Just to name a few, the airport is the biggest one, first of all. So 1st July, airport reopens, huge news. With this comes the travel to 19 safe corridor countries, details of which are still a bit unclear at the moment. As well, Mass is now going to be reopening by mid-June. Big news for the Maltese people as well. And we have to also, think about bars and gyms and childcare. Those two will be reopening very soon. Let's not forget about the fact that, Chris Fearn did say we've won the war against COVID-19 last night, which is monumental. And Prime Minister Robert Abela even said that, the second wave of COVID-19 had never materialized. So overall, it's a positive start to the day, to say the least.
That's exactly right. So, last night watching the press conference, well done on Robert Abela, not totally taking forever to get to the point. Not that he got straight to the point yesterday, but we're making slow improvements. So well done on that front. But what was really interesting, I thought, was the fact that he actually referenced this whole amnesty debate. So obviously yesterday and the day before, there was outrage online over the fact that people who had been given fines for breaking social distancing measures could apply for a refund. Some people had already apparently gotten a refund, and it was a big controversy. He addressed it yesterday. He said, listen, that's not exactly what I said. I was misquoted. He said he was trying to make more of a point about being compassionate, caring about our fellow citizens. He brought up a story of a little old lady who was at the local grocer, and she was caught up in a group, and next thing you know, she received a fine. So he did address that amnesty discussion. So some questions were raised, though, like, is there a board? Is there an email that we have to email to get the refund? So I think we still need a few more clarifications. But another thing he mentioned was he referenced the migrant situation. Obviously, right now, there are 4 ships currently floating 1 nautical mile out of Maltese waters. About 450 migrants are housed upon them. Though Malta's reopening, we will not be reopening for the migrants currently waiting for shelter, seeking refuge. So that's another topic to bring up. And another topic that I thought was really, really big, and this leads us to our second story of the day, is the fact that mass events will not be allowed in Malta. So if you were expecting to hit up a club sometime soon, Uno, Jampula, Havana, whatever it was, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer because mass events will not be happening. This comes following a big story yesterday where some clubs, multiple clubs, I think 3 even, opened up along St. Julian's and Sliema beachfront, and the party started. Videos hit social media showing groups of people ignoring social distancing, really just having a good time, having a big party together. Surfside was mentioned. A few other clubs were mentioned as well. We spoke to some larger club owners, such as the owner of Jampula, who said, listen, these Lidos, these beachside clubs, the way they're approaching partying, the way that they're bending the rules is putting the entire clubbing industry at risk. And last night, we saw that indeed the clubbing industry will not be reopening this summer. So maybe he was right. It seems like the clubbing industry is seriously going to be set for a very, very quiet summer. I know, JP, you're also speaking to some rock bands as well about how this is going to affect them.
Exactly. The whole dynamic has changed now this summer as a result of COVID-19. And, it's for rock bands, it's not as significant as it is for the clubbing scene, which is way more prominent in Malta. It's hard not to make the link between what happened this past week with regards to the Malitos and the decision made last night with regards to clubs not opening. So with Malta being having quite a prominent club scene, it's really going to be a strange and weird summer. And yes, the industry will be affected incredibly, not just this summer, but for months to come after as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how everyone recuperates from this, both from the clubbing scene and from other music scenes as well, underground scene, rock bands and whatnot. Where is it going to go, and how will we recover from all this in a few months' time?
That's exactly it. Moving on to the next topic, it's a bit of a meaty one, right from the courts. So yesterday we had a very, very important day in the investigation into the assassination of Maltese journalist Daphne Caruana Galizia. Infamous middleman Melvin Telma shared some more of his information. Obviously, if you guys don't remember, because the story happened a while ago, he had secretly recorded a couple of conversations, and it seems like Telma has a lot of information that could be useful, and they led to some bombastic claims yesterday morning, actually, sorry. One of them being the fact that former economy minister Chris Cardona had apparently suffered an overdose during the times when he was worrying about the murder and the investigation into the murder. This is really, really big because obviously Chris Cardona's name had popped up previously, and now he's being brought back into the picture. And not only that, it seems like there were payments involved, claims of payments involved. In fact, the claim was specifically that Chris Cardona had passed on money to a middleman involved in the murders. So obviously Chris Cardona has called this a frame-up. We spoke to him about these claims. He himself said that they are lies and nonsense. And this is not the only claim that came out yesterday. There's another bombshell claim that opposition leader Adrian Delia had met Jorgen Fenech on a ranch for a meal. So really, really big claims coming out. I know there were some important reactions, right, JP?
Yeah, I think the most important reaction this morning came from Matthew Caruana Galizia, basically saying the Labour Party has a deputy leader in Chris Cardona that is credibly accused of murder. So big claims coming from Matthew Caruana Galizia about this, and obviously the debacle, the show that is the Jorgen Fenech case continues. And we'll just have to wait and see what more information comes out from Melvin Telma with regards to all of this. It'd be interesting to find out what other information he has, especially when it comes to Chris Cardona, who has now been brought back into the picture and is now at the fore of this case. Moving on to the next story of the day, a particularly pressing issue and a relevant one. Primarily yesterday on COVID calls, two young Black Maltese featured on the show where they were discussing their experiences with racism within Malta. And following the show, a comment was made calling these two young men jungle monkeys. Obviously an outrageous comment that sparked a lot of controversy and a lot of outrage amongst the Maltese people. But obviously this comes within the context of what's happening in the US with regards to the George Floyd protests. And more importantly, what's happened in Malta last year with regards to Lisana Sisi. So really, the debate worldwide and the issue worldwide has now come back to systematic racism, and it's important for Malta to address these issues as well. What we saw yesterday on COVID calls was totally unacceptable from the comment made, calling these young men jungle monkeys. And obviously within the context of what's going on, it's a very damning quote, and obviously we need to address this as a nation and kind of take suit of what's going on around the world and kind of root out the systematic racism, especially when we have to realize that Lisana Sisi is still in our morgue and justice is still to be served with regard to this case.
No, you're exactly right. So obviously when it comes to the issue of race relations, it's an issue in America, it's an issue in Malta as well. And yesterday's events really brought that out. So the idea was that we wanted to bring these two Black Maltese youths to discuss their perspective. And it's maddening to see that while we're trying to get the discussion going, people are still ready to bring things back. So just so we're aware, the comment was as follows. Jungle monkeys is all you're good for. Come destroy Malta, so I'll turn you into bits of trash, you black things. So, really, really insensitive words. But the community immediately called them out. So the people making these comments were called cowards. People told them, listen, you know, words really, really hurt. And another person said, listen, we all know who the real monkey is here. You belong in the zoo, etc., etc. So it's not like these comments were made and there was no reaction. There was definitely a strong reaction. Moving on to the last story of the day, quite an interesting story. I think this is something we've become a little bit accustomed to in Malta, yes. But I mean, this is just a large one. JP, if you want to just take it away.
Absolutely. So yesterday, videos emerged of a Saudi princess' spectacular 400 million euro mega yacht moored in Sanglia. This is, like you said, something from Malta we've become a bit accustomed to, but you know, when you consider that I think it's the 22nd biggest yacht in the world, and it's just moored here in Malta. Video was surfacing yesterday of this yacht, and I'd say it is massive. We have no idea why it's here. It appears to have come from Montenegro, but why it's here, we have absolutely no idea. Maybe the Saudi prince is here on holiday. Maybe he's here on quarantine on the yacht. Not a bad place to be with your quarantine. You know, but he seems to be doing very well for himself.
Yeah, so this the mega yacht belongs to Prince Khaled bin Sultan bin Abdulaziz. This is Saudi Arabia's former deputy minister of defense, and he's also a member of the House of Saud. So, you know, very high ranking. This yacht is massive, over 400 feet. It's 123 meters. It's called, the name of the yacht is actually the Golden Odyssey. So, I mean, you know, with a name like that, it better be a sight to behold. Right now, it's moored in Sanglia. So if there's any yacht fanatics out there, definitely head down to Sanglia. I mean, listen, the pandemic's over anyway, right? Apparently, according to our health authorities. So get down to Sanglia, check it out if you're into yachts. I think that brings us to the end of today's program, brought to you by Browns and You, of course. From myself and JP, have a day full of lovin'.